welcome to HR Nightmares. We are the podcast that is good for everybody in the workplace, not only HR folks like ourselves, but if you're a manager, if you are an employee, if you are a contractor, if you're thinking about starting your own business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure that you're hitting like or subscribe wherever you're listening to us, and tell a friend. We are officially listened to in all 50 states and a couple of different countries. So,
Hey, that's amazing.
I'm Lisa Leith, and I'm here with longtime pal and senior HR consultant from Leith HR Group, Beth Looney.
Hello.
Hey. We're going to talk about something really fun and really stressful. As I was thinking about talking about this, I got a little bit of anxiety. But I would love to spend some time talking about pre-election fodder in the workplace and how it affects us. During the election, what kind of crap we're going to be dealing with. And then also post-election, some of these election decisions, be it local, regional, state, and federal, will affect potentially people's personal lives, be it in taxes or healthcare. So I'd love to just have a conversation about what's trending with the election and how are we going to handle some of this stuff.
Oh my gosh, we need to have those fire extinguishers because it's a big fire sometimes.
It's going to be a nightmare. Oh my God. At Vanica, we're having our user conference in DC 2 weeks after the election.
Oh, wow. That'll be interesting. Okay, fun. Will it be open? I'm like,
open bar. So
it's like as much as you would like to drink because you'll need it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's so, I don't know. It is so hard because everyone has their own viewpoints, right? But then you come together and you're supposed to be together, working on projects, collaborating.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Okay. Hey, let's start with this. So, we're all on social media. We've blurred the lines between professional and personal. I feel like maybe 10 or so years ago, I had a boss at Corning that she was like, I will not be friends with anyone on social media. I won't even talk to you on LinkedIn. And I'm thinking that's a little extreme.
That's extreme. Yeah. It's like, well,
but LinkedIn is where we should be connected. But on Instagram, Facebook, I still kind of understand that, but I do know that, the lines are a bit blurred. So let's talk about just social media and being shocked by maybe some of your colleagues that you thought you assumed, you stereotyped, I don't know, you thought they were more like you, then, oh my God, you realize and you see some kind of extremist post on one side or the other. What do you think about, first of all, being friends and sharing political views online and being friends with colleagues? When I say all this, what comes to mind?
I say no.
It's opens Facebook app and
there
deletes
you go.
Me.
It's really funny. I actually recently just went through my Facebook and I get, the feeds from all your people. And I genuinely like a lot of these people. Obviously, I wouldn't be friends with them on Facebook, but I've just put them on a 30-day pause.
Oh.
Because I just don't need to see all of, because we just very much differ. And I don't care if we differ because I think everyone at the end of the day, hopefully, wants sort of the same things. We want to be, I don't know, safe and free, right? Yeah. Those are the things that you would want, and how we get there maybe is different. But I sure do not want to hear just this inflammatory stuff. It just doesn't do anything. It really kind of makes me second guess my friendship sometimes with these people, So I'm a regular person. It's we might have different viewpoints, but we're not going to get crazy.
So what? Okay, we're team members. We're working at this construction company. We're team members and we're friends on Instagram. And I see you continuously posting candidate reels or, edited snippets from debates. And I'm totally turned off. Do you think there's a potential for treating each other differently at work if you are seeing some of that?
I think so. I think that's human nature. I think you have a judgment of somebody. I think everyone makes judgments of people, right?
Yeah.
And
what do we do? What do we do? Put them on pause? Your suggestion is, what do you do on Instagram? Can you pause people?
I don't know. Facebook, bonk, there's a button, pause them. But it's hard, right? So if let's say you're on a team and this is what I always sense. Sometimes I've been on just a different political maybe idea than other people at work. And I kind of keep my stuff to myself. Yeah. It's just more of my personality. But when you're the lone person that believes alternative belief system and then you have to work together. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
And isn't it part of the company's responsibility to have a safe work environment?
Yeah.
Psychological safety is important.
So what if you like overhear that you're a manager and you overhear that people are, arguing online and they're trying to stuff it down in a deep dark hole at work while they're working on a project together? Like, do I have a responsibility as a manager? Like, if I'm kind of hearing through the grapevine that like they literally, went at each other's throats on the comment section of WECT, trolling each other or whatever, and then we get to work and we pretend that everything's fine, but it's not. Do I have a responsibility to like step in?
For me, yes. I think the integrity of the team probably trumps that. I would want that team to be working well. And if they're saying, you can't fake it, right? You just can't fake that at work. I don't think if you have done that online and really gone to those lengths, I don't know. I think I would step in.
And it's like, hey, I've heard that you guys are trolling each other on social media. Are you truly tell me about what's going on. Are you truly able to put your differences aside when you're at work, or how is it like impacting the way that you are communicating, or are you making people uncomfortable like in the room? And
that, I think that's the key.
Hitting it.
There's always been, I know we had a client years and years ago where they looked at their handbook and the policy they had for social media, and they took that policy. This person, they had an employee that went to a lot of rallies, and it was really a viewpoint that was not held by everyone at the office. And they actually let that person go because they were doing a lot of that, like prepping for the rallies on company time.
Oh, okay. So they blamed it on stealing company time, but how interesting.
Yeah, it was a very, and I got in there after they had done that. I'm like, wait, you did what?
But it's like, do they let Lisa go and plan, Y7 soccer events during company time, or?
Exactly.
So then you're like,
it was a very strange thing. And
was the person pissed?
The person was pissed and kind of took to social media and said some things about their termination. It's like, we got in there afterwards. I think you got me that gig. And you're like, hey, go over there. I'm like, I walked right into a hornet's nest. I had no idea.
You've done that a few times.
I'm like, oh,
hey,
surprise.
This is going to be great. We fired the HR person. You're up. So
next up to bat.
Yeah.
So, but I think that this was, I think in that particular case, they were on camera and they were really spouting out their personal beliefs that were very different from the company's beliefs about, certain topics. And that was on film. And I'm not sure if they said where they worked, but it could have been something like that.
Which and it's kind of like, it feels weird to those of us who are used to creating like a fully inclusive environment where everything is kind of a little bit neutralized, but like these smaller businesses, even some mid-sized businesses that are really values driven, whether it's religious or political, like they have a right to choose people based on their behavior and beliefs. And like, so people would say, isn't that illegal? Like to fire somebody based on their outspoken beliefs? It's probably a little bit weird and touchy, but
it was very strange. But you're right. They found a loophole that they were doing that on.
So they blamed it on their stealing company time.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they probably let a lot
Well,
of
here's
people
an idea. Obviously, like politics, you can't talk about politics and religion. So we had another group that we worked with that the owner of the company, a devout Christian, wanted to kind of have Bible studies.
Oh, yeah.
With their employees, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the employees who probably didn't have that same belief came to me and said, I feel really awkward. I feel like I have to go and participate in this because it's a small team and I will be the only one that doesn't participate in it.
So
it's like,
do you have to be over a certain, hold on, I feel bad that I don't know this. I'm just like out of like the total employment law game right now. Do you have to accommodate religious beliefs if you're like under a certain size?
I wish that I knew the answer.
I know.
I want to say something, but then if I don't say it,
right.
I want to be correct.
I want to say most companies, no matter your size, if not all, have to accommodate, like do religious accommodations. But then she just felt weird, right? About saying like, I don't want to, or so if everybody's going to the MAGA rally or the Kamala Harris rally
and you're
not
awkward,
going.
yeah. It's like, I don't want to go. Well, one time I knew this girl.
Why don't you want to go?
What? You don't believe in what I believe in.
You get berated.
I knew a person who, it was her husband who was, let's be honest, a little bit of a whack job, but just being honest. Hate to say that, but was a little whack job. And they got called into the HR department because I'm sorry, it's just funny, but he completely took his entire cube. They were in cubes.
Yeah.
And he decorated it with all of his political beliefs and stickers and all his stuff. And he got in trouble for that. And he got called in and asked to take it down. And so then he replaced it all with like all of these religious signs that saying, you know, something about being persecuted. And I was like, can he just focus on his job, please? Like, can he please just get that report in on time? Like, does he really need to do that? So anyway, it was a big thing. This is kind of before.
Didn't we talk about like the
He was goof.
The cubicle decor where I had that guy that was had the full-size stuffed turkey in his cubicle. I was like, that is commitment to hunting.
But it's just kind of
a hunter.
It's kind of funny. It's like, are you allowed to decorate with, like, I mean, it looked like probably like one of those campaign headquarters. I mean, it was that much paraphernalia. And this was many, many cycles ago. So
what do you think about, okay, now I'm having memories. Remember we talked about like the truck had the hitch on the back with the balls and everybody said.
We both are like this.
Everybody said, you have to make that guy
change it.
Take it off. Because it was in the employee parking lot. And then, okay, so then let's talk about this. So what if it's like F Joe Biden or F Donald Trump, like, and somebody says like, we got to get them to turn their truck around, or if they can't have that bumper sticker on their car in the employee lot, like.
It's crazy. So my experience is so,
close your eyes.
My experience is so different. I work with such smaller companies.
Yeah.
So we're really a lot of times underneath a lot of the regulatory size, you know, for things. But I also agree. It's like, just be normal at work. Can you just literally be normal at work?
Yeah.
That's what I think. But I don't know. I think, right, you have freedom to talk about a lot of things at work. But do you have freedom to kind of make somebody feel harassed because they don't believe in your viewpoint? I don't think so. But is it harassment? I don't know.
So thumbs up, like a crude political bumper sticker. Would you thumbs up if you'd make them take it off their truck, or thumbs down if you wouldn't?
Yay, we're the same. Yeah, I wouldn't make them change it. But it's funny, if you want to have that.
It does make you look at somebody differently, though.
It makes you look at somebody differently.
It's like, do you really want that at work?
And then also, you
bring
just
the Corolla.
Yeah. Drive in your kid's car, just like some beater. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that what you're about to say is what I believe wholeheartedly is, you know what? You're at work. It's not your social life. It's your job. There's a reason that you're there. Just focus on the work. And I think that, well, particularly in that case of that friend's husband, I mean, it didn't seem like they were that focused on work. It seemed like they wanted to make a statement and try to like really kind of cause a problem.
Yeah.
In my viewpoint, I thought it was that a little bit.
Those are the people
over
that
the
make
top.
life exciting.
Maybe at a bar on a Friday night, that's exciting. I want to have that conversation, but not on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m.
Oh,
I want to get the work done.
Yeah.
What do you think about, I know that there was I remember reading an article about not letting people wear their shirts to work, you know, like
a normal campaign shirt, like I support,
or
like
Trump.
Harris and Trump, if it's just, I mean, it's bold. I wouldn't do it.
It's bold. I know. I would not do it in my life. But
it's kind of like I think about wearing feminism is my second favorite F word, and then I don't wear it to work. You know, it's kind of like, should I try? No, don't do it.
Well, what do you think about people that are just trying to be neutral and then you really don't know where they stand? Would you rather know where somebody stands?
No,
or would you
I
rather
like mystery.
I'd rather have a little neutral
I love a mystery.
Too. Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I don't really want to know because it will.
I don't look at people's voting records. I just don't care.
I had You were surprised. That's so surprising that people that are looking up voting records.
Okay, listen.
That seems a little intense.
If you are like a community leader, or people think that maybe someday you might run for office or something, which I won't do, they look up your voting record and they want to pigeonhole you into one side or another. And what's great about like local government makes it so easy to like vote across the party lines. Yeah. It gets a little bit weirder like with the general election. But here's another thing. I mean, I have worked with a lot of managers over the years, and I want to hear about your experience that's like, well, did you look them up on social media? And it's like, well, when I see what I'm going to see, what is good and what is bad. And so I know like over the last 30 days or so, Andy and others on the Leith HR team that are running recruiting gigs have been asked like, well, what's their political persuasion, and are they going to fit in with the rest of the workforce here? And, we're blue collar, we're whatever that means.
Whatever that means. I'm like,
whatever that means.
Gosh.
So, I do know people go out and look at social media before they make job offers. They make hiring decisions based on people's political beliefs. Like, that seems
discriminatory.
A little strange.
Discriminatory. It's
yes.
like, I think it seems strange. Well, I go back to that one time. I think I've said this on the broadcast or the podcast a long, long time ago. But my mom was the business editor of the local paper.
Yeah.
And on that leadership team, she was the only one of a different political persuasion. The only one. And in that probably field, more so than probably the fields that we deal with, that's more important. They're covering politics.
They're going to put spin.
They're going to spin it. And so talking about, we talked with Lakeisha McDay a little bit ago in a couple of episodes this season about, diversity. And it seems like if you're hiring people and you're looking at their political persuasion to make your hiring choices, I think that's just unbelievably short-sighted.
Yeah.
That shouldn't really ever be a consideration, at least for me. Maybe if you're on like trying to hire the David Rouser
I'm trying
field
to hire
team,
a campaign manager.
Maybe.
Yeah, on the other hand, it's like, do you want someone who's extremist, right? Like, what if you have kind of a nice little neutral team? People are, it's mixed views, and like people are respectful and they keep it kind of profession when we're at the office. And then you find that like, you're like, I don't want to look, but then you look, and then you find somebody's like an extremist and is rallying like every other night. I mean, what do you think?
I don't want to work with extremist people for anything. I don't want to work with extremist runners. Like that would like
ultra marathoners.
Like I don't want an ultra marathoner. Like extreme. No, I'm like in the middle band.
Chain smoker. No. Ultra marathoner. No. Rally of tender. Probably not. Okay.
MAGA extremist. No. It's kind of funny. Well, here's another kind of question talking about looking at people's social media profiles or their footprint. I had a group reach out to me that one of their former employees was very much talking about how they were there's a very like divisive person in the political landscape, not a politician, but just I guess a commentator.
Yeah.
And they were really like singing their praises. And so the company asked if we could have them take that down. And I was like,
on their personal
page. No, you really can't do that.
It's called First Amendment.
You're allowed to have
You're
freedom.
stalking them.
And you're also allowed to have your beliefs. But I don't think that the extreme beliefs are going to ever be great for any kind of business. Because the other thing is not only just working together, but you also are trying to get clients and trying to work with vendors. I mean, the business incubator is a lot bigger than just coworkers. And so I wouldn't want to hire somebody that's extreme.
I was just thinking about how crazy these rallies are getting. And how you could almost kind of like see how somebody could get themselves in trouble at like either one of those rallies, right? So like, what if one of your like employees gets locked up? They they're going to Charlotte and they go to a rally and they do something stupid and then get locked up and then they can't make it to work. Like, I was just thinking about that and I'm thinking, okay,
what would we
treat
do?
Treat it like any other time people get locked up. Like, do you let them take vacation? Do you?
You may take your PTO leave for your jail stint.
I will approve. Yeah. Would you advance somebody like their paycheck to get out?
I'm going to give you PTO in advance.
Yeah,
no,
I'm going to give you.
Okay. If you ever think of anybody
I'll let
that's
you dip into the deficit.
Or the PTO pool of the donated pool. But you know that, I mean, that's such an iconic picture. I think we all remember, and not to be political, but on January 6th, that guy with the
horns.
The horns and the shirt.
Like he worked for somebody.
Exactly. He's somebody's employee. And then they're like, I won't be in on Monday. Like,
yeah. Like, did you let him take PTO? If you're listening, like, I need to know.
I need to know the answers to that too.
Yeah.
So... But hopefully all of the political extremism that you might see won't rise to the level of wearing like an animal head on top of your head and taking your shirt off.
Yeah. For those of you listening, I hope no one on your team goes to jail at a rally. Hey, what do you think about leaders having political views? I know when I worked for Corning, like the company kind of had a side. It was really interesting. I never sort of anticipated a company supporting and donating to PACs for specific candidates. I know at Leith HR Group, we try to stay neutral because we want everybody
to like us.
Yeah. And at Vanica, same. But there are companies and a lot of companies, and it's shocking how many like Fortune 500 companies have a view. So what do you think about leaders having like professional on behalf of the company political views and supporting candidates?
Well, I don't know. I think it's in their right to do so. And oftentimes it kind of gets really kind of muddied, but I think that when you own a business and you might want somebody to be lobbying on your behalf, or maybe some of their legislation would help your industry or help your business, maybe that's a natural no-brainer.
Yeah, or someone has like pledge to you that they will support tax cuts if you hire 1,000 people in these, towns that are going down. I don't know.
Well, I know that when I always bring up my experience with the company that I owned, but when we had that environmental engineering company way back, it was important for us to have, it was better for our business if we had people in power that were wanting to uphold the Clean Air Act.
Yeah.
Because that was our business, was to kind of monitor and do reporting for the Clean Air Act, regulations. And so if they were going to, dismantle the Clean Air Act, well, that would really affect our business. Mm-hmm. And so it was always in our best interest to, I don't know if we ever wrote checks to particular candidates, but I know that we were always looking at that because that was going to be really important to our bottom line. So I would imagine at bigger, Fortune 50 companies, Fortune 100 companies, that challenge must be even greater than this little tiny engineering company in Wilmington, North Carolina. So yeah. I imagine that yes, they would.
Or like candidates that wouldn't over bureaucratize like fines and stuff for making not intentional mistakes. I know some of the EOC leader, one of the EOC leaders, he's like the East Coast EOC leader, was at the Warden Smith Employment Law Symposium last week. And he was talking about how they're really focused on, somebody asked, like, are you focused on any industries right now? And he said, we're focused on construction.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But if you're working in construction, you're like, oh my God, I want to support like maybe a candidate that's going to help, protect me, not let me do anything illegal, obviously, but go and
maybe look out for the
industry or because it's funny, like some of these employment agencies, they do tend to they see a trend and then they pivot and like go laser focused on a specific industry or topic. But I thought that was interesting. Okay, what about election day? Like we're allowed to all early vote now. I kind of am wondering, like, are people still letting folks leave to go vote on election day? Leave work?
They shouldn't, right?
think it's
Because
weird.
election. Well, and that's always so funny whenever we go into a company to try to start the kind of maybe HR assessment to see where they are. I almost invariably will look at their handbook, and almost every single one is, you have time off, an hour off to vote on election day, but now we have a month.
Yeah.
And you can
have
vote on the
early voting.
weekends. Yeah.
Yeah, and the polls are open early and they're open late. I mean, everybody should vote, but like just do.
I don't think that
voting.
there's any like barriers to voting now.
No, there's no barriers to voting. I think.
One time I loved when I worked at my factory job way back when, that chemical manufacturing plant, and we had one like super American. I mean, he just was all about the flag, and he was a vet, and he was just this really, really nice guy. But he was a poll worker, and so he would always at the beginning of the year,
poll worker.
Not that kind of poll worker. I don't think he'd get any tips. No offense.
He's a real patriot.
I'm doing it for America. But no, but it was so cute because he would always ask, like, honestly, the first day of the year, like when we would get back after January, just so you know, I want that day off. I'm a poll worker. Okay. And so I was like, all right, I'll make sure you get that day off. But he was just really, it was very sweet, and I loved it.
Well, hey, it's PTO day. I mean, take your PTO day. Take your floating holiday. Go be a poll worker. Enjoy yourself. Let's see. What about just like after the election? This was the hairy time 4 years ago, right? With the January 6th insurrection. And so people are going to be hot. Like some people won't even know what's going on with the election. Some people didn't vote, but there's a good amount of our population that's going to vote, and half of them are going to be upset. That means half of your employees are going to be upset and reeling with like maybe some personal conflict. When it, like I said before, it'll have to do with taxes or healthcare or opinions on these divisive issues that are coming up with the election. So you think there's an obligation to sort of like support those people from a mental health standpoint at work, or they just need to like deal with it?
I want to answer so real. So here it goes. I think that they need to not be responsible, and they should just, if they need the day, take the day off.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like we should be building safe rooms where it's dark with like trickling water so that they can chill out after
because
the election.
Because their candidate didn't win?
Yeah.
Their
it's
school
like,
board candidate didn't get on the school
like,
board?
It's that, honestly, this is why I'm so glad I don't own a business, because
I'd
be like,
for her.
I just, then they collapse out. No, I think that is definitely scary to me, and I think they need to take their own personal day off. And maybe just sit and have a bag of popcorn and make yourself feel better, however that is. But I don't think it's the workplace. What do you think? Like, are you guys going to set up a safe space?
100% not. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to take everyone to DC. Evil laugh.
Well, okay. So so you work with a company, and how many people are there? About 100?
200.
200?
Yep.
So, I mean, definitely within 200 people, probably 100 are going to be happy,
Yeah.
and 100 are not going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. You just wonder if there's some kind of like, hidden distraction with like the period between election and inauguration. And God forbid, like one of these attempts on anyone, like actually like does something terrible. I mean, that is going to be a disaster for our society. But like, I mean, people are at work most of their lives. It is going to be a bit of a disaster.
I don't know. It just makes you feel, well, I'm older, right? And so I've been through lots of elections, and it never seemed that you would be like some people in your own family, you'd be on different parties, and the election day would come.
My parents were.
And you would want your person to win.
They haven't been married in 20 years, so.
But you would want your person to win, but it wasn't like you were going nuts on the day after election day.
I remember when I was a kid.
It's just so strange.
My parents used to say, like, you don't tell anyone if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You don't tell anybody.
Right. I kind of grew up like that too. It's like,
we grew up. You don't talk about money, and you don't talk about what kind of politics you support.
It seems strange. But it's weird because like in my family, my son and I are completely opposite.
Jack Looney
and I are completely opposite. And Scott Looney and I were completely the same.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, I just have to grin and bear it.
Oh, man. Well, I do think that, like, you know, there could be scenarios, like probably just, you know, hopefully very rare scenarios during and after the election where somebody might need a little extra support. And hopefully if you've been a client of Leith HR Group, like, we have set you up really well, whether it's like with your insurance or employee assistance program, or we can introduce you to really great mental health therapists or psychologists and people. I mean, bring somebody in.
Yeah, we also work with that. There's a contracted chaplain that I work with a lot.
Yeah.
And that's been great. You know, the company that wants to have them, that's another option too.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different ways, but maybe it's beholden on the business owner. You can kind of see maybe prior to the election, if there's going to be anything crazy, and maybe try to address that early on.
Yeah. Civic engagement. I mean, I guess we would let people just take PTO, right? I mean, go for it. If you got PTO, if you don't have PTO, you're gonna let them take unpaid time.
At this point, it's like whatever.
Do whatever you want.
Like, I just want to get to the day after the election. So yes, do whatever you need to do. No, but I think that, you know, it does take some cool heads to kind of tamp down some of this rhetoric. It's getting, you know, a little unsafe. And so I would want that to, you know, leaders always have to do that for other things. And this would be no exception. Yeah.
Okay. So in summary, I think, like, if you're seeing team members start to be like marginalized or treated differently at work because they maybe don't hold the same political views, or they're not engaging in like the banter that everybody else is kind of having, you know, locker room talk about, step in, end it, say something, don't let it go on. Just get in front of it and nip it in the bud, right? And it's no big deal. Just end it.
But it's also kind of, you're doing your job by like kind of knowing the temperature of everyone at your office.
Yeah.
You that's your responsibility, and you need to make sure you do it.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts?
Let's say who we're voting for.
Thumbs up if you're voting. Okay, this is over.
All right. I'm totally joking.
Thank you for tuning into HR Nightmares. If you have any questions and you don't want to say who you are, we have the anonymous write-ins, and we love going through those on air. So please get some free HR advice. And remember, like, we love giving HR advice. We are HR consultants, but we're not yours, but we'd love to be yours. So make sure you go check out leithhrgroup.com. We're all over socials. And we'd love to have you tune in. And if you've never listened to another episode, make sure you go check out all of season 3. We've had amazing guests, and then also season 1 and 2. I went back and listened to a few episodes with some of our original guests, and it's still super relevant content. So go back, check us out wherever you're listening to podcasts, watch us on YouTube, and hit like and subscribe. We appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you next time. Bye.